I will discuss some issue about what has been called national reconciliation that have been mentioned by the government and that have been raised by many organizations, humanitarian organizations. That is, the national reconciliation may be an entry to the correction of the situation of Iraq. They mean by the national reconciliation is that pushing all the patriotics and pushing all the groups of the resistance to enter the political process, which is the project of the occupation. This is the meaning of national reconciliation. That to push all the peoples of Iraq to enter in the projects of the occupiers. And as you know, that is this is unfair for the free peoples in the world. So when we are discussing this, we can say that what are the fate, what are the rights of those who are killed in the Iraq? Who will compensate the destroyed infrastructure of Iraq? When we enter in reconciliation and enter in the political process, which is the project of the Americans, who will compensate the Iraqi state, which is destroyed completely by the occupiers? And who will compensate those who handicapped and displaced and lost their jobs and so on? Who will compensate the people who are subjected to the nuclear weapons and the chemical weapons? Who? And how we can enter in a reconciliation as a resistance, as a patriotics, as a national people, and forget our country and forget our sovereignty, forget our dignity and so on? How? Is it possible for the free peoples in the world to forget the liberation of their countries from the influence and from the international dictatorism? Really, it is national dictatorism. Mr. Bush, Mr. George Bush, and the administration of USA insult America by the invasion of Iraq. Insult the American army when he invaded Iraq, really. Because when you see the American soldiers in Iraq, they are insulted in the Iraq. Because I heard that Obama, the president of USA, when he accepts and receives the return back soldiers that have been withdrawn in December 2011, he said to them, "You perform a very good job and a great job in Iraq, but you lost us very much in Iraq." He said that. I heard from CNN, by my ear. And he said that, do you know, he direct his speech to the soldiers, American soldiers. Do you know how many soldiers, American soldier, take service in Iraq and kills the Iraqis? He said that 1.5 million. 1.5 million of the soldiers have been in service, in job, included in the war of Iraq, because there is continuous turnover, and the continuous number is 180,000. The continuous number, the constant number.
Right.
And he said that, do you know the number of injured soldiers between these 1.5 million? So he said that you did a great job, but you give a great loss and a great cost. And after he finishing his speech, the correspondent of the CNN make attachment with the one of the soldiers that have been in service in Vietnam, old soldiers, asked him that why Mr. Obama don't mention the number of killers in Iraq. And he said that, well, it is well known for us that for every 5 injured who are injured, there is 1 killer. Soldiers of the American have been killed by the action of the resistance, by the action of the national resistance. And so Mr. Bush, by the invasion of Iraq, insult the Americans, insult the America itself, insult the American army. Really, this is the truth. And we see, in my eye, I saw the American soldiers in Iraq, they are crying. They are crying because of the crimes from the side, from one side, and because of this insult from the other side. So I return back to reconciliation. Our meaning, or what we are explaining about this reconciliation, that we can reconciliate with anyone. I talk about the patriotics. I talk about the national movements in the Iraq. I talk about the national resistance, the opinion of national resistance, the situation of national resistance about the, or the imagination of the national resistance about the national reconciliation, that everyone from the Iraqis, everyone from the Iraqis, even those in the political process, who recognize the Iraqi rights, there is no problem with him at all. This is the principle. We should put the rights of our country as Iraqis, put the rights of the table, and if we recognize these rights, and we did for the implementation of these rights, I think that the reconciliation will be possible. But if, for example, that the rights of the Iraqi people, which have been published in the program of liberation and independence of the resistance, include that for the government as well as for the occupiers should recognize that the resistance, national resistance, is legal representative of the Iraqi people. Is legal representative. Second, liberation of the prisoners. Third, complete withdrawal from the Iraq. Fourth, compensation and take the responsibility of the war and sanction. In sanction, which is extended from 1990 up to 2003, the losses of Iraqis who are killed by this sanction is 1,750,000. I know this number really. In the Ministry of the Health, in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, this is a constant number. 1,750,000 were killed during the sanction. And during the war from 2003 up to now, 1.5 million were killed. So the people from Iraq who are killed, about more than 4 million. In spite of that, there is many thousands who are handicapped, and widows and orphans and so on, and displaced peoples and so on. So the compensation is a must.
Yes.
I take the responsibility is a must. Following up of the criminals and the states which are sharing in the occupation is a must, and it is a job of all the free peoples in the world. Really, everyone who is a moral thinking, everyone who has any religion background, any moral background, any political honest political background should take this in account, and should take this in interest, his interest. So for example, eradication of the political process and the eradication and cancellation of the laws which have been created in the under the occupation also is one of the principles of this program. So these are the rights of Iraq when we put on the table, and these are the program of the resistance as well. When we put on the table, I think that the reconciliation is very important. About the resistance, I think that it is of very benefits to show that the national resistance of Iraq follow a defeat by the military forces of the occupiers, according to the losses I mentioned before, and according to the financial cost. As you know, that according to the Stiglitz, who is one of the famous economists, American economist, and he got Nobel Prize in economy, and he is a consultant in the White House during the I think Clinton administration. He said in his book, which is The War of $3 trillion, the cost of the war on Iraq is $3 trillion. Trillion, not billion. So it is the cause of the financial crisis in the world. Isn't it?
I agree.
Yeah. So this is the performance. This is we are prouding with the performance of our national resistance. That is push the American and enforce the Americans to be withdraw from the Iraq. It is not the agreement between the traitor al-Maliki and the USA and Mr. Bush. No. No, the agreement is the cause of withdrawal of the Americans from the Iraq. This is a big lie. The cause of the withdrawal of the Americans from the Iraq is the big losses because of the actions and performance of the resistance, which is 60,000 of the people, of the soldiers of the Americans were killed, and $3 trillion is the cost of the war. In addition to the political and the moral breakdown which has followed America, in addition to the crimes in the Abu Ghraib prison and so on. This is the enforcement of the enforcement division to take by the Americans to be withdraw. This is the cause, and this is the performance. We're proud by our national resistance, really. So the resistance, as I said, that faces four powers. The first power, big power, is the occupation. As you know, that America came in 180,000 soldiers with big air forces and with big missile forces, and we are in Baghdad, and we can see that 100 of the missiles come together. That is the programmed missile. شو يسموها الصواريخ هاي مالتهم اللي كانت تجينا الطائرة بال لا مو توماهوك كروز missiles. They are in hundreds, came together from the sea, from the air, from different places, really. And the resistance faces this power and perform this performance that I mentioned. This is first. The second power that the resistance face in Iraq is the Iranian influence, which happened in the accordance and coincidement and with the cooperation with the Americans. And the Iranian said that we are introduced to the Americans most of the facilities to invade the Iraq. They said that. The vice president of Iran said that, Abtahi, he said that we helped the America to invade the Iraq and Afghanistan. They said. And Mr. Najad, Ahmadinejad, who is the president of Iran, came to the green zone under the defense of the American airplanes. And he walking on the red carpet in the entrance of the green zone. So where is the difference between, or where is the struggle between the Iran and the USA? We heard about. I again raise this question really. So the resistance facing this influence and faces this force, the Iranian influence, by military action as well and by the political work also. Through the election, the resistance supports some peoples to enter the election and change the balance in the political process. And that has happened really. In order to eradicate the Iranian influence from the Iraq and the Iranian control. But the Americans need that, no, those who are win should be out and bring the others to the political process who are followed to the Iran, who is al-Maliki. The third force that have been faced by the resistance is the terrorism, Al-Qaida. They try to make some overlap between Al-Qaida and terrorism and the resistance. Really, there is a big difference. And this is a big crime. This is a big crime on the expenses of the victims of Iraq. And this is also a big lie on the world, that they said there is no resistance in Iraq, but there is a terrorism, there is explosion on the innocent peoples, there is destruction of the markets, on the streets, on the läkare, etc. No. There is a difference between the national resistance, which direct and targeted the occupiers only, and prohibits the killing of the innocents. But the resistance protects the innocent peoples. Its program is to protect the innocent peoples. Its program is to catch, to enforce the occupiers, to recognize the rights of the Iraqi peoples. This is the job of the resistance. And I mentioned now the program of the resistance. But Al-Qaeda and terrorists, it is a part of the occupation, really. And I can tell you about a subject maybe not heard about it. That Al-Qaeda divided into 3 parts. One of the parts, and this is by documents really, one of the parts is related to the Americans and supported by the Americans, and they supplied by the Americans. The Americans gave them the weapons, gave them the explosions, gave them the cars which are exploded in the markets. The aim of that is to overshadow on the action and the work of the resistance. And to say that there is no resistance, there is an anti-terrorism and Al-Qaeda in Iraq. The other part supported by Iran. And there are many leaders of Al-Qaeda who live in Iran, till now, up to now. And the aim of Iran from supporting this part of Al-Qaeda, in order to say that there is sectarian struggle in Iraq. Because this part of Al-Qaeda, supported by Iran, killed the Shiite part, and at the same time killed the Sunni part, in order to say that there is a sectarian struggle, there is a sectarian war in the Iraq. and really it is not. There is a political struggle rather than social struggle. There is no sectarian division in the society of the Iraq. All the Iraqi tribes, from the north to the south, both, some of them are Sunni, and the others who are cousins, who are brothers, are Shia. Those who are north to the Baghdad are Sunni. For example, the tribes of Al-Juburi, which is a big tribe in the Iraq. The part which is north to the Baghdad are Sunni. The part which is south to Baghdad are Shia. So there is no social division, sectarian division, and this include all the other tribes really. Even the families you can find in Baghdad and in all cities of Iraq, that the father from Sunni group and the mother from Shia group in the same family. So you cannot divide the society of Iraq. It is political struggle. It is a political sectarian division, not social sectarian division. So the Al-Qaida, the big part supported and supplied by the Americans, and the other supported and supplied by the Iran, and each of them have its aim, its goal. This is for confusing the peoples about the action and situation of resistance, and the other is for initiating and the creation a struggle according to the sectarian divisions. The other small part may be aiming the occupiers, small part. So the whole parts and all the media directed to appear, to exaggerate the action of Al-Qaeda in Iraq and overshadow the actions and operations of the resistance at all. But according to the American reports, that the Al-Qaeda percentage in Iraq not more than 2% as fighters, not than 2%. Maximally it's 5%. This is a report of the Americans. They announced them. So the America faced this power. This is the terrorism. When I said the resistance facing four forces, the first, as I said, is the occupiers, the occupation forces. The second is the Iranian influence and invasion. The third is the terrorism, and the fourth is the sectarian parties and the results of the occupation. The militias. Every party in Iraq now is a militia. Is a militia. It is not parties. They are gangs, real groups of gangs. Al-Da'wa party, which is a traitor to Iran as well as America, as you know. It is established in Iran, supported by Iran, growing in Iran, and now cooperated with the Americans and implement their project in Iraq. This is a Al-Maliki party, which is called a Da'wa party. It is traitor party. Have a militia and kill the people according to the nationality. Al-Sadr militia kill the people on the nationality, according to the nationality. High Council, Islamic Council, what's called High Islamic Councils of Al-Hakim party, it has a militia which killed the people according to the nationality. Kurdish militia, Mas'ud party and Jalal party, etc. They are militias and gangs and thieves, really. 500 billions of dollars were stolen from Iraq by these militias, and there's no services at all. Really, this is the situation, And lastly, I can say a few words about the present situation of the resistance and the present and the future program of the resistance. As you know, that the Americans, we say that we withdraw from the Iraq. Withdraw from the Iraq. And the exact position, I can summarize that the organized peoples, the organized, or the fighters, the actual fighters, the Marines were withdrawn from the Iraq. But the Americans left many forces, left 6 bases, big bases, including air forces with its equipments and staff, left missile forces with equipments and staff. They left security companies, and according to the Ministry of Interior of the occupation power of Iraq, they said that these security companies include 45,000 fighters, and the embassy of the America, which is the biggest in the world, include 15 of the official persons, and so on. So the total number is more than 100,000 have been left in Iraq. Those peoples are fighters. They have tanks, they have powers, they have guns, and so on. They have weapons and did operations, and so military operations, and so on. So the resistance put the program, the present program, the current program, and the future program. Just a few minutes.
Yes. It's okay. Yes.
Yeah. The current program, the future program, according to the situation, that is, the resistance will continue until complete liberation of Iraq, until the removal of the political process and the results and correction of the situation will continue without stoppage, but raising its operation really. And the second principle of the program of the resistance is an open dialogue with all the Iraqis, with all the countries, with all the free peoples in the world. And the third principle of the program of the resistance for the future is the follow-up of the criminals, is the follow-up of the states which are sharing in the occupation, and harbor there the responsibility of the war and the sanction and the occupation and the invasion. And also the resistance will follow the occupiers to compensate the Iraqis as a state and the populations because of these big losses, as no. And these crimes, as you know, that cannot be fallen with age, cannot be fallen with years, because the international law preserve the rights of the countries which are invaded, and the crimes should be followed whatever the time is long, even after many thousands of years, for example. Yeah, if our generation cannot take the compensations and cannot harbor the USA and the Americans the responsibility of this war, I think that the other generations will do. And we should we constant and catch the rights and raise the rights of our country up and in all directions. The last message I would to raise now, that for the countries, for the free peoples in all countries, for the governments, that is, I said, with big belief, really, with big belief, with the facts, that the future in Iraq is for the patriotics. The future in Iraq are to the resistance, to the national resistance. The national resistance.
Please give Mama a chance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go on, sir. We're
Well,
almost finished.
yes. With the resistance, to the national resistance. Yes. To the national resistance. So, it is of benefit. Yeah, it is of benefit for the all the countries, including the Swedish government and the Swedish people and the Union Europeans and all the, even for the Americans, that should open the window of a relationships with the patriotics in Iraq, because the future for them to preserve the benefits of all the wars in this important area and to establish the settlement. And thank you.